More documents marked classified were found in President Biden's house in Delaware. The president's lawyers invited the FBI in to search on Friday, and some documents date back to his Senate days more than 14 years ago. Ed O'Keefe has more on this from the White House. Ed, good morning.
Anne-Marie, good to see you. Happy Monday. The president's attorney says the latest batch amounts to 6 additional items with classification markings for a total now of between 25 and 30 documents. And in a sign of how this investigation may drag out now over several more weeks or months, a source close to the probe tells CBS News investigators are considering searching other locations.
Mr. President!
Bipartisan questions and concern.
How serious are they? Why were they taken? Did anyone have access to them?
This is a real critical question to all this. Why did he have these documents to begin with?
As even more items with classified markings were found in President Biden's Delaware home Friday after his personal attorneys and White House counsel's office agreed to an FBI search. Over nearly 13 hours, investigators reviewed personally handwritten notes, files, papers, binders, memorabilia, to-do lists, schedules, and reminders going back decades. The president's attorney says the FBI took 6 items consisting of documents with classification markings and surrounding materials. Some from when Mr. Biden served in the Senate, others from when he was vice president. And with no need for a search warrant, allies say that's a big difference from the search for classified documents at former President Donald Trump's Florida home, which did require a warrant.
In the end, we will see this was just an inadvertent matter of filing, in sharp contrast to his predecessor.
But notably, other senior Democrats are taking a more critical stance.
Because it's not supposed to happen. Whether it was the fault of a staffer or an attorney, it makes no difference. The elected official bears ultimate responsibility.
It's just hard to believe that in the United States of America we have a former president and a current president that basically in the same situation. How does this happen?
Now, we should point out the Bidens were not at their Wilmington, Delaware home on Friday during the FBI search. They spent the weekend at their other Delaware home in Rehoboth Beach and are headed back here to the White House later this morning. Today, the top Republican on the House Oversight Committee says he plans to contact the Secret Service asking for any and all documentation that might give a sense of who's had access to the Biden residences and potentially access to those documents. Anne-Marie?
So there are a few things that have been happening as this story has continued to unfold. One is that the discovery of the documents often happen at one point, and then we find out later. Now, this is a matter of a day, which is better than, when we found out about the other documents. But if the search happened on Friday, why is it that it wasn't made public until the next day?
Yeah, this is part of the ongoing strategy of the White House to cooperate as much as possible with the Justice Department, in essence, in hopes that this probe moves along quickly. We didn't find out until after sunset Saturday night that this had happened on Friday, and the president's personal attorney made clear that they didn't reveal that the search was underway or going to happen until afterward at the request of the Justice Department and the FBI. They're hoping that by demonstrating good behavior to prosecutors, hopefully they'll move along quickly with this and handle it as a minor mistake, as the president's attorneys see it. But the drip of this, Anne-Marie, has the real potential to continue causing political headaches for this White House, even as they try to fulfill legal obligations in hopes that this goes away quickly.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, that I know they're trying to make it clear that there's a difference between what has occurred with the former President Trump and what's occurring here. But I think at this point, I know that when I read the latest story, I thought to myself, well, how many classified documents are there out there anywhere? And that, to me, is a bigger issue.
Yeah. And in this case, at least 25 to 30 documents.
Yeah.
And of course, all of this coming now as they're preparing here at the White House for a new chief of staff. Ron Klain is on his way out, expected to leave at some point next month after the State of the Union. He'll be succeeded by Jeff Zients, who ran the pandemic response for the Biden administration until last spring, somebody who worked in the Obama administration in various management or sort of put out the fires kind of roles. In this case, he's being brought in, the White House tells us, to keep the trains running on time and to get all that big legislation we've spent so much time talking about over the last 2 years actually implemented. The bipartisan infrastructure bill, the big climate and health care bill that was passed last year, and other things, while other senior aides start worrying about the president's anticipated 2024 re-election campaign.
Yeah, perhaps also the care and treatment of classified documents, depending on who's been responsible. That might be added to the list right now. Whenever there's a staff shakeup, though, there are always questions about, why someone's leaving, what what is the morale like within the White House. So any insight into why there's a change right now?
It's always a good question to ask, and in this case, it's important to remember most modern-day White House chiefs of staff have averaged only around 2 years. Ron Klain just passing that 2-year mark on Friday, and this is somebody who has worked for Senator, then Vice President, now President Biden since the 1990s. And when you serve as chiefs of staff, there have been some great books and other reports written about this. They'll tell you 2 years feels like 5, given the amount of work that they do, the amount of paperwork that crosses their desk, the stress and the pressure that comes with it. So Zients is up next at the 2-year mark, which is on average and normal and unrelated to this classified document situation. Klain has been suggesting now for more than half a year that he would have liked to go at the 2-year mark, and it looks like it's going to happen shortly thereafter.
All right, Ed O'Keefe, thank you very much.
Take care.